Hey guys, Casey Edwards here. I wanted to take you through a patch walkthrough of the first release of the Aleatoric Modular series, Low Brass. We recorded 2 tenor trombones, 2 bass trombones, and 1 tuba player in a new hall in Sofia, Bulgaria. World-class players, and this hall sounds fantastic. It's not the same hall that Stromchoir 1 was recorded in, but it's a brand new stage, and it's currently where Stromchoir 2 is being recorded. It's a very punchy stage. Nice early reflections to give you depth of the room, but also a very light tail to give you more control of your mix in the final stages, and you can add reverb to taste. It's absolutely wonderful sound. Well, let's get started. We'll start walking through the patches, and I'll explain the GUI and its functions as we go along. By default, you can see we start with the Decca and the outrigger mics here. I'll give you a better in-depth look at that later. At the moment, I have a very light tail added on. It's the QL Spaces SoCal Brass front. All right, let's get started. We recorded up to 4 dynamics on all of these main patches to really give you that soft and that beautiful sound of low brass when it's doing these nice effects. All the way up to triple F, which really just gives that sound of hate, just absolute horror. It's really great. Another thing about these patches is, yeah, one note is really all it takes to get things going if you have a full mix. Plenty of stuff going on around it. It's really great. But the way we recorded this, pretty standard section size. As you can see, we don't have 10 contrabass trombones, 7 bass trombones, or whatever, because really, This GUI offers a random start time feature. I'll show you where that is in the options page. By default to 100%. And we all know that aleatoric music really thrives in numbers. The more variables you can add into that chance, the greater outcome you're going to have with all the randomness going on. So put that into terms of MIDI playing. We stretched some of the samples out, not a whole lot, but just a few, so that if you wanted the same take starting at a different time, thanks to the random start GUI function here. And you can do that. And it really thrives in that kind of playing. I'll show you a single note, and then I'll show you what I mean here with the double notes. So we'll start here, and I'll give you a crescendo. So yeah, really fun. All right, now let me show you what I mean by adding 2 notes. Even if it was the same sample or something within the same stretch, you'll never have to worry about phasing issues. Thanks to the random start, never starting it in the same spot, plus the slight stretch of the samples will always keep them different. All right, and here's what it sounds like with a open-voiced, well, I say open-voiced, a couple random notes across the keyboard here to give you an idea. It's really fun. So yeah, just absolute terror. Love it. All right, guys. Also, I think you heard in there the close mics, or not the close, the Decca, sorry, picking up a lot of that breathing noise. I definitely took note of that in my prototype when I was building it, and that's what these filters are here for. Not only for real-time mixing purposes and faux or fake dynamics, but also to do exactly what it says, to filter out some noise that may be unwanted. Now, I have no problem with letting low brass players breathe or hearing anything like that in the samples. It really brings a life But if you have a nice delicate moment and you just don't want to hear those big gaping breaths that it takes for them to push this kind of power through, just a touch, turn on the filter here, just a touch of this low pass here doesn't really interfere with the tone at all, but it'll help you get rid of that. Let me show you what I mean here. So there, as you could see, I was just gauging it by ear and really toning down anything that might come through in a mix. Also, you can tone this down a lot more if you'd like by using this low pass as an extra function for maybe, say, a very, very soft dynamic. So let's give that a try and see how that works. So there you go, and then I'll go ahead and rise it up in real time here for you so you can see the amount of control you can have over these samples. Let's bring these filters back where they belong. Awesome. All right, let's move on. All right, these are the Flutter Bends. Exact same concept as the lip bends, but we really wanted that dirty, gritty flutter bend in there. I mean, it's just having them give it all that rasp and that grit in the tone. It just sounds really great. All right, this is Flutter Bends. All right, and again, that was just one note. This is with another open voice random note array. Awesome. Another thing I should mention here, I'm also doing some CC11 controlling with expression. There aren't any limits really to what you can do for these CC numbers, but I would definitely suggest staying away from the standards, being 1, which is controlling our dynamics here. Feel free to change it to whatever you'd like, though. Also, CC11 and CC7 being the standard volume controls and expression. That way you just don't get any interference whenever you're doing a mock-up or working through some of your CC lanes. All right, and on to the jitters here. All right, these are essentially random staccato flurries. And the way we recorded these is I had the charts read to increase dynamic and intensity at the same time. Which what that means is going along with the whole one note versus several notes means that you get a very low intensity on the sorry, the lower dynamic levels. And as you grow, you'll get more intensity in there. But if you choose to have more staccatos in the lower volume dynamics, then just hit a few extra keys and you'll get those extra little shakes. Let's see and get this set up here. These are jitters. So as you can see, as I said, it's very low intensity. They're just kind of flopping around there. I'll give you another example here. Now let me show you can do the same instance of this with 2 or 3 notes. Yeah, I love playing these samples. These patches are so great. All right, and this is the patch that I wanted to show you guys, the naked samples in the room here. Let me turn off this reverb. Start out with the close mics here. Now here is where you're going to hear all the main details of the samples up close, really dry. Sounds like this. All right, in Decca, standard Decca array, this is where you're really going to get a lot of the meat, the main center of the room. Sounds like this. So yeah, you can still hear that seat positioning of the low brass section, as well as their depth in the room. Outriggers. This is where you're going to get a lot of your width. These samples have a lot of clarity in them, but they're mainly for adding to the depth of the Decca. And let you check these out. These are some of my favorite mic positions, by the way. Again, hearing how that intensity gets lower. Feel free to add notes. Or take away. And then ride that fader in real time. All right, moving on to the balcony. This is where you're going to get a lot of depth. If you want to add a little bit of extra depth in the room, and here's what it sounds like. me show you guys what all of these mics sound like together now, since we haven't quite done that yet either. All right, all mics loaded, sounds like this. Great. And also these, since we're talking in clusters here and not actual samples, generally it's mapped low to high. So you'll start down here. And just sort of work your way up. That way you guys can have complete control over what your players are doing, how they're doing it, for how long. It's really great to have this sort of control for orchestral effects now and not be limited to what is recorded for you. Just pushing one note and following its guidelines, dragging around MIDI. I mean, don't get me wrong, those samples have been used for years now. They sound great, recorded in great halls, great engineers, great everything. But personally, a year ago, I felt it was time to move on and really start offering the same. I mean, I think I've said this several times on the forums, but really the same depth that people have been offering in standard articulations for years. I mean, we have playable sforzandi, playable crescendos, I mean, all kinds of stuff out there. Great round robins, tons of Lorets and everything else. And now I wanted to offer the same depth in aleatoric effects, orchestral effects, what have you. All right, guys, moving on here. This is the cluster split patch. Explain all this here in just 1 second. Same thing here. This random start time is only affected in this patch to the extensions, and I'll explain what that does in a moment. The sustains are your standard sustains here. We recorded 2 dynamics on these. Very lovely sound. Let me turn my reverb back on. Very nice, majestic sound. All right, great. We'll also have a breakout sustain patch for you whenever you buy the library. That way, if you don't feel like having all these extra samples in here and you just want some sustains, then you'll definitely have those. But of course, feel free to play however you like with this patch loaded. All right. So those are the sustains being controlled by the mod wheel, CC1. And move on to the deviations here. I'll show you here what they do. At their lowest CC control, they are silent. That way you can play sustains and have them brought in at any time that you would like. And these are also recorded in 2 dynamic layers. That way they follow suit, or however you'd like to control them, since they're on separate faders. So sustains and deviations. Those are really fun. Also, if you want to ride the fader up just a bit on these deviations, you can get that sound that we're used to hearing in some one-off shot recorded patches where it deviates from the actual sustain note that you're started on. Sounds a little something like this. Now down here in the low register, it just sounds like pedal tone nonsense, but it sounds really great, really creepy. All right, now let's talk about these extensions here. As you'll see, there's a pull down menu. This is for pitch extension, as well as being able to add to these deviations and everything else. So let's activate this just by clicking this button. It's best to stick with a smaller number. I usually don't go above a major third or a minor third, but we gave you up to a perfect fifth just in case you want to mess around with some stuff. It has some really cool applications, and just the idea alone of this scripting extension to the samples themselves, it just offers just a plethora of ideas of how to extend this library with the samples that we already have. And we're also already brainstorming on ideas to expand this into just completely controllable, just awesomeness for this aleatoric stuff. All right, guys, let me show you how this works here. The extension has its own CC number, but this is only for pitch. It follows the exact same dynamics as the deviations. So I'll show you what that's like. Unactivate this so you can see this is with just deviations, with the CC deviation up just a bit. And this is with it activated. And as you can hear, it's just a little bit extra chaos in the background there. And I'll show you what the CC does here for this pitch control. So we have something here. Start out with a nice sustain. Let's bring in these deviations. Now, here's the extension layer. Let me really overdo this so you can see what I'm talking about here. Now, obviously, you would never treat your samples as such because it would sound terrible. But I'm going to start at the top and write it down and see if you can hear in that background this slow fall. Sorry, let's try that again. Yeah, this stuff's really fun to play. And again, it offers all kinds of options. You can choose to keep the sustains all the way down, keep the deviations all the way up. Choose a smaller variable or just a smaller area of the extension here. Let's do minor third. Show you what it's like just to waver it a bit as if you're doing your own lip bends within a lip bend sample, which sounds really fantastic. It's really fun. All right, let's move on here. Cluster risers and falls. Now these are all tempo synced. The only ones that probably won't matter are the rips. And how we recorded this is just straight up rips. Mod wheel, by the way, controls whether it's going to be up or down. This has nothing to do with this CC number here, so don't mind this for now. But mod wheel 1, or mod wheel CC1, up controls the riser samples, and down controls the downers, falls, whatever you want to call them. And this CC number here is for normal, double, and half. Now, while this isn't necessarily for time stretching your samples to be that exaggerated, it's more so for keeping up with the crazy tempo or tempi that aleatoric music is sometimes written in. You can have these really soft, really hauntingly slow, creepy moments. And since this is tempo synced, what you can do is double that at a slow tempo, get it back up closer to those 120 BPM that we recorded it at. That way it doesn't sound bad. And you can record this control this in real time, as you can see here. So normal is all the way down, middle is double time, and all the way up is half. Keep that at normal for now and just show you what we have to offer here. So again, rips, 1 beat, 2 beat, 4 beat, and 8 beat. Let's start off here with these low. And by the way, none of these are sample stretch. These are all individually recorded samples. The way we record it is you rise and then you hit at the end. You can choose to leave out the hit if you want, but it really accents the tempo synced part of it being just locked on. I don't know if you saw moving the mod wheel around. Up, risers. Down, falls. Show you. This is our 1 beat. Also, just like all the other samples, for each color that you have here, it represents low to high within each take. So rips, low to high, 1 beat, low to high, etc. That was 4 beats. I'm sorry, 2 beats. That was 4 beats. These are 8 beats. Yeah, really fun. All right. Those are all the main patches there. And then we also recorded, as I said in the beginning of the video, everything is muted as well. I wanted you to have everything just as in-depth and normal as we did muted. So we chose straight mutes, which is the most popular mute for this genre. We weren't just doing the most popular mute in general. We really wanted to reach in and make sure we were getting the most appropriate samples for this kind of genre stuff. For instance, in my opinion, when I listen to aleatoric music, when the trumpets put on mutes, it's almost always that harmony mute sound with a stem inside of it. It has that really throaty, deep, piercing tone. It's kind of hard to explain, but I really, really like it. And it sounds like when they're doing these staccato jitters, it sounds like just creepy crawlies all over your skin. It's really, really awesomely awful. So yeah, moving on. Straight mutes here for the low brass. These are muted lip bends. Sorry, I moved the mod wheel there. Let's try it over. By the way, same thing here. Turn on these filters and get rid of some of that breathing if it's bothering you. All right, moving on, muted Flutter Bends. Same options as before. Feel free to use the filters. Definitely suggest for all the patches that use it, you keep it up to 100%. But if there's something about the beginning of the samples that you enjoy more than anything, feel free to bring it down. As you can hear, it starts in the same place every time. Bring it up, you'll get a new start each time. It's really great. All right, muted Flutter Bends. All right, the next patch, muted cluster split. Same controls as we explained before. Yeah, let's just jump into it. These are the muted sustains. We'll start with those first. All right, that was the sustains and a little bit of the deviations there. Should have put this a little more on a controlled level. All right, and activate these extensions here. Choose a minor third, just at random. All right, again, exaggerating it so you can see what we're starting out with here. Awesome. All right, and then we have our last patch here. This is the muted cluster risers and falls, same as before. You have the rips down low, 1 beat, 2 beat, 4 beat, 8 beat controls. Mod wheel controls the direction. This CC number is for controlling this pull down menu for normal, double, and halftime. All right, here we go. Awesome. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to ask. Just post in the forum. That way, if anybody has similar questions, they can get those answered. All right, guys. Thanks again.